Juan Jose Gallardo, thank you very much for being part of this interview. It's exciting to have you with us. I've known you for a couple of years. We've gotten to have a close friendship, I feel. So thank you very much for being with us. You're the Vice President of Colliers. You manage the whole of Latin America from Miami. Thank you very much for being part of this interview.
No, thank you, and thank you very much for your friendship. I'm even growing a little beard, Gustav style. So yeah, it's been wonderful to meet you. I'm a great admirer of what you do, and delighted to be here.
Well, you asked before the interview. I asked you, what do you want me to call you, JJ or Juan Jose, to make it more official? Tell us the story about JJ.
Yeah, no. As I was saying, some people get confused. Oh, should I call him JJ or not? Is it informal or what? But to be honest with you, it's been an amazing marketing tool for me. And the story behind it is that I was a 30-something years old executive from Mexico, had my first meeting in New York with a bunch of people coming from all over the world. It was very imposing, and I walked in and they said, "What's your name?" And I said, Juan Jose Gallardo Valencia, and everybody just stared at me. You had people from Australia, from Ireland, from the UK, from all over the US, and it's just like, oh my God. And then when I went back to Mexico, I signed an email, JJ, because I'm a JJ the third after my grandfather and my father, and I got immediately a call from a gentleman in New York saying, "Hey, JJ, we just nicknamed you JJ because we can't pronounce your freaking name." And it's impressive, but throughout all these years, it's been a wonderful, it's very mnemotechnic, not only in English, but also in Spanish. And you would have a good laugh listening to all the different variants. So because it's JJ, 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 Jota, Jota, GG. It's just impressive, but people do remember it. So please do call me JJ, and let's move on.
Thank you, JJ. Well, tell us something about yourself that people might not know.
That they might not know?
Yeah.
I'm very public with my persona, to be honest with you. I do go a lot to LinkedIn and use a lot Facebook. Try to be very open about me, but maybe something they don't know is that I struggle with my religion convictions. So I was raised as a Catholic, and my principles are from the Judeo-Christian tradition. But I have struggled throughout the years to try to understand God in its full form, and also trying to convey that, because sometimes I may be hurtful for some people. So that's something that people may not know about me.
You're the Executive Vice President of Colliers. Incredible position, but the path has not been easy. You actually mentioned in your article in Excel Leaders that at some point in your career you had to sell everything, your house, your cars. I think you even mentioned your wife's jewelry. Tell us about that.
So that was relatively early in my career, and it was not the only time. So that's what's interesting. You know, life can be tough. It can have ups and downs along the way. And at some point, you and I were talking that a man is probably not measured by the falls, but by the times he gets up and continues moving forward. That specific one was one when Mexico was going through a severe struggle. This is 1994, 1995, interestingly enough, 30 years ago, when the North American Free Trade Agreement was signed. Mexico went through a severe struggle. You may remember the Subcomandante Marcos and the guerrilla that they had in the south of Mexico that took to some political assassinations and eventually led to a severe devaluation. The Mexican peso went from 3 pesos per $1 to 9 pesos per $1 in one night. And the interest rates went from something like 13, 14% a year to 13% a month. And all economic activity, most of it came to a standstill. So at the time, I was the owner of a real estate firm in Mexico. We had some very interesting transactions ready to close. At the time, we were serving Grupo Posadas, the major hotelier across Latin America. At that point, we had several transactions for many millions of dollars about to close. So I was doing what you shouldn't be doing, and no time. I was already spending the commissions that I had not yet received. When we were hit, suddenly it was just the world went upside down. Revenues went down 85%, whereas my expenses, because of inflation, were up 150%. So basically, we went broke. And the good thing about that was that although it took me a couple of years to get up on my feet and get out of all the debts, etc., it made me stronger, and it opened my eyes to a new me. It opened my eyes to the international arena, to skills that I had dormant, like speaking in a different language or having the possibility of relating to people from other countries. And at the end, it ended up being a blessing in disguise. So that's why I wanted to recount that in the story.
Yeah. Well, talk about God. He works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, very mysterious talking about religion. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, may your will be done. No? Just I don't understand it, but I'll do it.
I want to ask you, now you're living in Miami. You call it a weird place. Why is that?
So you see, Miami is very close to the United States, but it's definitely not the United States. It's the melting pot of the South, where you see a very strong population from Latin America with some very wealthy individuals and families that come here to have their vacations from all over the place: Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, etc. Also, wealthy individuals and families coming from traveled countries like Venezuela or Cuba or even Argentina right now. But you also have Europeans as well, plenty of Europeans, and everything from people from the UK all the way to Ukrainians or Russians. Plenty of them actually. You may remember that this is a place where the Jewish community from all over the Americas meet here, and this is where and it's not only for the Americas, it's also from the rest of the world, and it's a place of business because the financial institutions are here for all of the region, and the Latin American headquarters for most corporations are based here, like my own company. But it's also a resort town. So you see people wearing a jacket, and then you see a beautiful lady walking in bathing suit in the middle of the street. So it is weird. It's interesting in terms of language as well because, Spanish is basically the official language in Miami-Dade. But once you cross Broward County or Palm Beach, you actually enter the United States. We kind of joke that you need a passport and a visa to cross to Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach. So it's been an amazing place because I've been able to relate to people from really all over the world, different religions, because it's not only the Christians or the Jewish, but you also see Sikhs, Hindus, everything like you would see in New York, just cleaner and not as smelly and not as crowded as New York is. So it's a weird paradise.
I talk to CEOs from large corporations like Colliers, and I always come up with things that I discover about this organization. So, one of the questions I like to ask people like you is, what do we not realize about an organization like Colliers?
Well, at the end of the day, it's people that makes the organizations. So one says Colliers or CBRE or Siemens or Google for that matter, but at the end of the day, it's really people that make it. I had the opportunity to work for a competitor for a number of years, and although it was a splendid experience as well, it was very different because of the culture of the people and the way they interact. I then also had an opportunity to work for DHL, which is a corporation with 500,000 employees in 220 countries. It's a German corporation, so it's an entirely different culture as well. And the way people interact within an organization makes it lively and differentiates it from other corporations. No? The reason for which I'm with Colliers is that I like the people and the way we interact with each other.
I feel that large, even medium organizations feel the need to have stronger ties with their real estate partner, in this case, Colliers. Have you felt this change?
So, corporate real estate, which is real estate for large corporations, is relatively new. It began really in the 90s when the USSR collapsed and China had not yet even started. It was a unipolar world, and very large corporations, mostly from the United States, started going abroad on a global basis. And that resulted in a huge challenge for the real estate people because suddenly, as opposed to just handling a portfolio within North America, which in itself it is very challenging, suddenly they had to manage 20, 50, 60 countries or more. As I was saying, DHL is in 220 countries. So just imagine keeping track of the leases alone or the market. Where is the market? Or is it an opportunity to buy, sell, lease? So many languages, so many different time zones, and there's just 24 hours in a day, only 365 days in a year. So you need to outsource, and that's when corporate real estate began. And to your point, if you're a smaller organization with a relatively small portfolio, maybe regional, maybe local, you may not feel the need of assistance, but the larger you grow, the more challenging it is. And adding to that is the economic situation. Those internal real estate teams have been shrinking because corporations want to save money, and so that pushes the need of outsourcing, not only for transactions but for other services like management services, construction management, project management, valuations, and all of these others.
You talked about ups and downs, COVID hit, inflation, high interest rates. That will change. If you could explain how all of this has affected positively and negatively the real estate market.
So interestingly enough, it doesn't affect it in the same way everywhere. So just to give you an example, in 2023, we have a so challenging year in US because of the interest rates and capitalization rates almost forced us to come to a stop on capital markets and investment sales because there was no pricing. Whereas in Latin America, we had a splendid year. It was a record year. I'm actually traveling to Mexico tomorrow to celebrate our 30th anniversary there, and a record 2023 year. You would say, how is that possible? And the reason behind it is that all this realignment with the geopolitical tensions, with the pandemic, with the supply chain changes, etc., have forced to a regionalization of services, and the U.S. is realigning into the Americas strategy, onshoring many of the manufacturing facilities that they have abroad, and BPOs and call centers to realign them into the Americas. and that has benefited enormously the Latin American region. On top of that, the challenges like Ukraine or the Middle East, in terms of the raw materials, have also given a push to countries like Argentina or Uruguay or Paraguay or Chile or Colombia with abundant raw materials. So it's you take and you give, and some markets will do fantastic, others will do more poorly. US was very challenged to your question, particularly in office. Industrial was fine, but office was a huge challenge.
How do you see that change with the expected lowering of interest rates?
So what happens is that they will not go back to where we were. That's for sure. They won't go back to the 2% or that. We will stay within this range. So this is the new normal. And once you have a new normal, you have landlords or owners having to accept the new reality and price their assets at that new level, on the one hand. On the other, people were waiting for the interest rates to go substantially lower. And given that they will not, even if they refinance, this is where they are. So can they or can they not pay their mortgages? And that will result into keeping or not the assets or just handing the keys over to the banks. No? So that means movement again, because there's a ton of money in the sidelines just waiting for a reasonable pricing to go back again and just do business, if not as usual, in the new usual.
That's interesting. I've never heard the new usual. Everybody's hoping for a lot lower interest rates. So how is Collier adapting to this?
So one strategy that we took since we became public in 2015, we are in the Canadian and the New York Stock Exchange markets, is that we diversified in terms of services. So instead of just getting all of our revenues from transactions, we made a lot of emphasis on additional services like consulting and valuation, like project and construction management, facilities management in some cases. That those revenues are recurrent and they are not dependent as transactions are. So asset types do have a cycle, and some will go up, some will go down. But those are the services you still have to provide management to your industrial or office or retail facilities. You still have to do the evaluations. You still have to think on workplace advisory. Am I going to shrink or expand, et cetera, et cetera? And that has kept us alive. So out of the big four companies, Colliers is the most valuable in terms of capitalization rate as a multiple of earnings. And that's because of diversification, both geographic and in services.
That's actually interesting. I read an article about a week ago that said that the real estate sector, investment-wise, makes a lot of sense because for the last 2-3 years, it has been pretty stagnant compared to IT and other sectors. But this analyst was saying that that the real estate market within the next year and a half will have an incredible boom.
The commercial real estate will have a boom. There will be losers, that's for sure, but there will be winners, and it continues the cycle. What you cannot afford to have is a stop when nobody transacts, which is what we basically had with the incognita, both on the interest rates and on the recession. Was there gonna be a recession or not? But seems that we avoided the recession, and if there's anything, there will be a correction, but certainly not a recession. And the new normal with the interest rates is already detonating transactions.
So is there anything not confidential that you can tell us about what Colliers has in store for the future, especially your region?
Well, It's well known that the company is aggressively expanding because we are financially very sound. We have very little debt as compared to our revenues, and our board is very strategic in terms of the growth. What we will continue doing is attracting the best and retaining the best talent in all of the business lines, hopefully bringing uh, uh, top teams from other corporations and making strategic acquisitions of companies to continue complementing our services and offering an integrated platform of services across the full scope of real estate.
Very interesting stuff, especially if you read between the lines. Very interesting stuff. JJ, you wrote a very good article in Exo Leaders, in the book Exo Leaders USA Volume 1. I really enjoyed it. It is actually, for anybody out there that want to purchase it, it is available on Amazon. But what made you want to participate in this book?
Well, I enjoy writing. It's a way to communicate and share experiences. And as you can tell by my gray hair, at least in my beard, um, I have reached an age where I have been blessed in many senses. My children are grown up now and on their way. I'm going to celebrate my 35th wedding anniversary next month. And I think I'm ready to give back to the society. And I've tried doing mentoring and I tried to participate in conferences, et cetera, and organizations. But writing is for me the best way to communicate. And if I can touch one soul, I will feel very happy with that.
That's basically also the reason why we're giving the 100% of the earnings to scholarships. We said we want to change lives, not only through the sharing of experiences and anecdotes, but if we can get money enough to give one scholarship, that's one scholarship, one child's life. And that leads me to when you knew about this, when you learned about this, JJ, you said, "How can I help? I want to be a bigger part of this project." And you offered your support and that of your organization in Latin America to do a Exo Leaders Latam, hopefully this year, maybe beginning of next year. What made you pick up this challenge?
So the very first thing was admiration for you. To be honest with you, when I had the pleasure of meeting you at the presentation of the book, and learning that you came from Europe, but you were doing this for my native country, and then had done it for so many years, and I got to see the quality of the people that was there and the enthusiasm. And I had not read the book yet, but when I read it, I said, "Oh my God, this is so much uh, knowledge to be shared that otherwise would go to waste." And so, given that my expertise for almost 30 years has been Latin America, and that I've been fortunate enough to visit not all the 27 countries across the region, but more than 15, have done business across all of them, and have clients and people I have known along the years that are now in very important positions because of our age. Más sabe el diablo por viejo que por diablo.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good idea to offer you a hand to take your mission to the next level, hopefully, and hopefully we can take this endeavor globally someday. I have the good news that we already have committed a couple of very important people, one in Brazil and one in Argentina, have already said yes to our project, and we're ready to go forward with the rest because there is an appetite to share. This is not exclusive, you and I. There's many other people out there that would like to do it, but don't know how. I didn't know myself. You gave me the opportunity, so I want to be of help to you to take this to the next stage.
Well, thank you very much, JJ. It's been a fantastic interview. I don't know if you want to add something.
Give my best to your family. You have a lovely family. Your song was just so fun and amazing. Tell him that I said hello when after the speech I gave you or shared with everyone when you kindly invited me to speak. He came and approached me and he said, "That was a very interesting speech." And how old is him? 6, 7, or
7.
7? He really got my attention, and he got it after his dad. And he's an intellectual himself, so give him my best and all the best to your lovely family.
I'll say hi from Uncle JJ.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.